I'm Debra Lee Baldwin in the Phoenix, Arizona garden of Rich Zay, who has an incredible cactus and succulent collection. How many acres?
This is just one.
Whoa, just one. The most marvelous thing about your collection is that it's both in the ground and in a greenhouse, the perfect microclimate. You know what I think is really smart? Is to have the security cameras. So we didn't even need to take a video. We're already on video.
On video.
Okay, Rich, show us around. Okay. Here in Arizona, which is a very harsh climate, things you don't necessarily expect to see. You've got lots of aloes, aloe trees, the aloedendrons they're called now, and my new favorite, the Lophocerius. After we explore the garden a bit, Rich takes us into his greenhouse, where you'll see a treasure trove of rare succulents he's collected over 30 years. You said it was all oleander when you bought the property.
Yes, it was all oleander, so I had to dig those out, and then I replaced the soil because you don't want to put anything in the ground here. The soil is so caustic.
How do you prepare the soil?
Better drainage, more organics, horse manure.
Oh really? Horse manure is your good amendment.
Yeah, it doesn't have the salt that the bovine manure does.
What's the difference between a saguaro and a cardone?
Well, the saguaros are unique to the Sonoran Desert, whereas cardones all go all the way down into South America. The cardone is larger. It's the largest cactus. It's much bluer, and as it gets older, it will lose its thorns. They are bat-pollinated just like the saguaros.
So they're night bloomers.
They're night bloomers. They will stay open most of the day. It's a rooted arm from a very old plant. It's called a farina seed coating.
Yeah.
It helps with the sun.
So that's its sunscreen.
Yes. It will come off in the rains.
And I see you have mounded soil here.
Yes. All the soil here is fill. This was flat as a pancake.
You're a retired biomedical engineer.
Yes.
And you came from Nashville.
Yes. I met my partner at Vanderbilt. I was in the PhD MD program, and we decided to get together and move out here.
At the Huntington, there's a sign, warning people it's a very dangerous plant.
Yes.
But they have people from all over the world, and it's got a flat rock in the middle of it that the devil just crept around. Tourists get stranded in the middle of the Stenoserius.
Right.
Because it's a photo op.
I could not get a bit of grass. So I took my gloves off.
Oh, you
pulling
didn't?
on it. Oh. I got stabbed right in between the knuckle. My hand swelled up the size of a catcher's mitt.
Ow. In order for you to see his greenhouse collection at its best, including plants that bloom at different times of the year, many of the photos you'll see are his. We discussed it and looked at them online, so if Rich sounds like he's on the phone, well, he is. Do you go to the shows and find these amazing specimens there, or do you buy them?
Over the internet, I developed a friendship with a man that has contacts in Japan. Been buying some rare Ariocarpus straight from Japan.
So here we have Ariocarpus fissuratus.
This is an old Petra Christ plant from Southern California.
I know Petra.
A very knowledgeable woman.
Yes.
The more the heads, the rarer, of course. It is not grafted.
So do they usually grow on their own roots?
Oh yes, they're just slightly slower than if they were on a graft.
This is a fissuratus too.
It's a beautiful pot. It was the correct size, and I put in a big old rock from good old Larry Grammer.
Oh, I remember Larry. He's no longer with us, but he was the master of staging. Larry would often add a rock that hearkened to some aspect of the plant. In this case, obviously texture.
I did it myself, but that is one of Larry's special rocks that he collected.
It is in the style of Larry Grammer with a true Larry Grammer rock.
Yes.
Fissuratus, Godzilla.
I don't know if it was Japan or Thailand. I think Japan, hence the Godzilla.
Okay.
But it is a mutation that has been propagated a lot. It's extremely popular. They all vary in texture and in color.
Ariocarpus retusus cauliflower.
Another Japanese hybrid.
I'm starting to notice your pots more.
Collectors always looking for different pots, different sizes, different textures. We want to try to complement the plant but not detract from the plant.
That's the art of staging. What do you know about Ariocarpus?
Depending on the species, they have been over-collected in habitat. A large number of the plants that you can buy on eBay or other nurseries have been taken out of Texas or Mexico. But those are usually Ariocarpus fissuratus. They're the most common. This is an elongata. They're extremely slow, very pricey, and almost completely unavailable.
Ariocarpus retusus, variety frondosus.
A Thai variety that I bought from a dealer in Thailand.
Perfectly in bloom.
Beautiful plant. Yes, it could be an elongata, I'm not sure. There's a lot of similarities between the varieties.
How many specimens of Ariocarpus do you think you have?
I have 52.
Astrophytums. Here is Onzuka. I've seen it in the flesh at shows. Yours is a particularly nice specimen.
You can see on this one why they call them bishop's caps.
And is this the one that has crushed peridot?
Yes, the top dressing is crushed peridot. We go to Tucson Gem and Mineral Show every year.
Well, that's one of the benefits of living where you do.
And that's right.
The Astrophytum asterius. Is that a bud over there on the lower right?
Yeah, it's forming a little tiny blossom.
Now, sometimes the spent blossom looks like the bud.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to tell on certain cacti.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
No, you're not the only one. Rarely they will pup. It makes it much more difficult to spot mealybugs between the little cracks and fissures, and it already is covered in speckles. So I wait until I see a problem, and then I try to mechanically rub off as much as I can with neem oil. If I have to, I spray with either soapy water, isopropyl alcohol, or a solution of hydrogen peroxide and water. Especially like using the hydrogen peroxide, because that will soak down into the root and kill any root mealies that I cannot see without repotting the plant. Both the adenias and the adeniums, because of their blooms and because they're what's called fat plants, they're caduciform, and that's very popular amongst collectors. I have them all over the greenhouse. So if you put them in a ground bed, they grow much faster and they produce a much larger tuberous root system.
Agave Victoria reginae, one of the variegates.
There is a white variegate called white rhino, and then there's a yellow, which is much more common.
Aloe castelloniae.
It seems to be a much faster grower than I would have thought, and it literally likes to hang. It's one of the few plants that will grow in cliff faces and just hang down in South Africa.
Serraria namaquensis, in bloom.
If you grow it in a pot, it'll form a nice little caudex in the greenhouse bed, and it forms a more natural bush-like appearance. Blossoms are highly fragrant at night. It's soft, it won't bite you, and it's not toxic.
Oh, it's not one of those with concealed thorns.
No.
How would you say that?
I wouldn't even try.
You wouldn't even try. Okay. Cochimea poselgeri.
It's pretty rare. It's a quite hardy plant. It seems to be a very fast grower, and it will cluster at the base.
We're seeing it perfectly in bloom right now, and out of bloom, it's not going to look like much.
No, it doesn't.
That's a privilege. Oh, Copiapoa.
Hypogea, yes.
Hypogea.
It's just rare because of its size.
It's quite a colony.
But they are quite easy to grow.
Here's Copiapoa tenuissima monstros, a really interesting sphere comprised of smaller orbs.
It's a many-headed plant. This one has grown into a sphere because it's grafted. On their own roots, they form mounds.
Coryphantha, it's all about the flower on that one.
Yes, it's a very nondescript, ordinary-looking cactus, but with that beautiful colored flower.
Sinacum marnierianum. It deserves a second look.
Very tiny little blooms.
They look like mid-century modern light fixtures.
Yes.
It is old world, and
it's pretty hardy. It's in a big pot. Highly unusual. And it can handle the heat marvelously. It does not like direct sun, though.
Cyphostemma uter looks like it's dead.
It hasn't leafed out yet. This is a very old plant that I got directly from Madeline at Grigsby's. Dave Grigsby's old plant.
That's some provenance.
It's about the best.
When you do shop in Southern California,
to fill my covered truck and then go back and forth over the years.
You've been doing it for a while.
1986.
Epithylantha micromeris. And I'm afraid it's a little out of focus. I probably took this one.
Very old plant.
Oh, I've seen this one. It was itty bitty. Thumb-sized white. They look like thimbles, little white thimbles.
Yes, but when you've had it for 30 years, they get that big.
Euphorbia abdulcuri, and obviously grafted.
The only thing that I have heard about this plant was it was a mutation from someone's garden, and it wasn't sought after by scientists or propagationists or anything. It was just found and then propagated from one plant.
There are others.
Yes. Yes, this is Euphorbia columnaris. Both grafted and on its own roots, it's very fussy. You look to where the region of the world that it's in habitat, and then you try to mimic its habitat as best you can. And I've learned over the years that if any plant that comes from the Cape province of South Africa, I don't even try.
Interesting. Euphorbia francoisii.
The new Thai hybrid. Much larger leaves, much larger flowers than the old varieties.
The flowers look a lot like millii, except they're that odd coffee color. And the leaves look like one of those gourmet lettuces.
Yes. It forms a beautiful, big, thick caudex.
Maybe some repotting is in order.
Pencil you in for next month.
Euphorbia gymnocalycioides. All of those offsets
are symmetrically located around the entire plant, not just this one side facing you. It has so much energy because it's on the graft. Normally it stays single.
It stimulated the growth.
Yes, it happens quite often.
Euphorbia horwoodii crestata. I hope those are water drops and not larvae.
Years ago, I had one shipped in from Thailand, and they confiscated it at the port in LA. They said it was bugs, and it's just speckles on the plant. They probably just tossed it. I don't order from Thailand anymore.
Euphorbia peltigera. Looks like a senecio.
Similar form. I can't tell you how old this plant is, but it's got to be at least 25 years old. Not small when I bought it. Super slow.
Been in that pot for that time?
Yes.
Euphorbia pisidermis. I saw that in one of your short videos on Reddit. You were rotating it. But, oh, come on. I mean, does it get any better than that?
Yeah, definitely one of my favorites.
It looks like fabric. Oh, no, it looks like upholstery.
Yes, it does. Again, this one is grafted. You cannot see the base of the graft, but that's why it's so mature. It's because it's got more energy on the graft.
Okay. Well, that's certainly a ringing endorsement for grafting if you want something to grow faster. But then you already said that you prefer them on their own roots. Is that because you don't?
Yes, I've had trouble before in the past where the graft will rot,
and
you won't see it because it's buried at the base of the plant, and then the rot will travel systemically through the rest of the plant.
And this is not the same specimen.
Nowhere near as mature as the last one.
What a great form that has. I mean, the word cauliflower leaps to mind, but that's an insult to such a gorgeous specimen. Euphorbia virosa in one of the planting beds in the greenhouse, occupying a corner and dominating it with some sort of vine behind it, an aloadia on the left.
Yes.
Some haworthias, the blue ceroid.
Pilosocereus. Every time it gets to be a certain height, it snaps off and regrows the head.
Oh.
It can't support itself. I don't know why. I just don't have the correct conditions for it.
Hence the rebar.
Yes.
Yeah. What is that at the base of the aloadia?
A badly grown copiapobias.
Okay. Also on the repotting list.
I'm not touching it. They will just fall apart into 100 pieces.
Oh, okay. Back away from the Copiapoa.
They just fall off.
Gasteria excelsa.
The largest gasteria, I believe.
I have one that doesn't look that good. How much time do you spend in your greenhouse?
It varies depending on season. In the summers, I have to water much more often. In the winters, I don't have to water hardly at all. If I'm doing a major cleanup, it takes days.
Gymnocalycium fredericii, Haworthia limifolia striata.
It's a little stressed and it turns pinkish.
Haworthia truncata hybrid variegated.
A very old plant. I've divided it a number of times over the years.
So appealing, that extruded candy look it has. You can grow hoodia. For me, they don't make it through the year.
I had a clump of them 6 feet across in the ground, very old. One year, it completely died.
Mammillaria parkinsonii, probably pretty old.
Very old.
Totally a matter of taste, but I have a preference for more of the pastel flowers, especially when the spines are white. Here's one I killed, Monodinium richii variegata. I still have a non-variegate that's hanging in there.
Well, as a rule, the variegates are more difficult.
Neochilenia occulta, occult meaning dark. Chili?
It could be.
It almost looks like it's dusted with snow. Pachypodium amaquanum. I would not have thought pachypodiums would grow for you, but this is in the greenhouse, I assume.
Was in the greenhouse.
Uh-oh, what happened?
Yeah, it rotted. It was sending out new arms. It was doing beautifully. The next day, it was dead.
Could you salvage any of it for cuttings?
I tried, and it did not work. I asked around, and no one's ever been able to root an arm.
This stapeliad has what looks like animal fur that is so delicate that it moves, even a breeze, probably smells like a rotting animal, and its bright color to attract the pollinators, which are carrion eaters.
Yes, it attracts flies.
As bizarre as it is, I want it desperately.
Just don't put it near your front entryway.
Yeah. And looking absolutely stunning. Don't you love how the buds emerge from the top of the plant? Color, everything.
This one bloomed almost completely, and it was open for a number of days.
Wow, that is perfection. Strombocactus disciformis. It knew that it was going to have its photo shoot today.
Another cactus that flower multiple days.
Oh, nice. Alwichia mirabilis. Coming into bloom. Any shots of the flowers?
They look just like pine cones. Extremely desirable plant. Very ancient plants. It's one of the few that its own family, genus, and species. Namibia and South Africa, I believe, are the only places they grow in habitat. Habitat plants are huge and very messy. Looks like a big pile of trash. They only ever get 2 leaves, and they've done some radiocarbon dating, and some of them are up to 2,500 years old.
Oh.
Deep pots, because they can't be allowed to dry out.
I grow Tephrocarpus articulatus. Mine doesn't look anything like this. After visiting Arizona, I realized that there are some plants that I need to move into a much hotter, drier location. This video shows only a fraction of the cacti and succulents Rich has collected and cultivated. If you'd like to see more or have a question, please let us know in the comments. For more info and to see a gallery of the plants in this video, go to DebraLeeBaldwin.com and do a search for Rich Zeh, Z-E-H. You'll also find links there and in the video description. I hope you found this helpful and entertaining. My goal is to inspire you to enjoy using succulents in fun and creative ways in your own garden and outdoor living spaces. Do subscribe and hit the like button. I'm Debra Lee Baldwin. Thank you for joining me.